Hey, everybody. We are back with another interview. This one's going to be audio. And today we get to talk with Joel. And Joel is Heather's husband, who also did an interview. And so I'm going to let Joel say hi and tell you guys how he and Heather met and then how long they have been married.
Hi, everybody. This is Joel, Heather's husband, as Tina mentioned. Uh, we've been married for about a little more than 7 years now. And we met when I was 23, attending college. And I was actually attending a movie night at a friend's place, who was apparently trying to uh, make my meeting with Heather not happen, but it happened anyway. And we were we kind of went into the nitty gritty right away. We kind of I think it was unanticipated, but we shared some of the really hard things we've been dealing with, and I think we were both at the same time in our lives where we had just come out of some recent therapy and kind of finding ourselves, and then we unofficially courted for 3 months, officially courted for 3 days, and then we got married.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So I knew it was short, but I couldn't remember. 3 months and 3 days.
Yeah.
And you've been married 7 years.
Yes.
Oh my gosh, I love it. That is um inspiring actually. um wow, I love that. Okay, okay, Joel. So we talked to Heather
Yeah.
and you know that for Sweet Honey and Sacrifice this month is our sex drive month for the month of October. And so that is what we are talking about, all things sex drives.
Yes.
And so we're gonna get right in here and ask you, which drive spouse are you in your marriage?
I'm definitely the low drive person in our marriage, which was surprising to me because usually I'm the male, from what I hear, has the higher sex drive. But turns out I'm the lower sex drive in our marriage.
And okay, so you just brought up the fact that that's not the norm per se.
Yeah.
And so with that being said, has that affected you in what you think of yourself because it's against the norm? And then with that, how do you think that your drive affects the intimacy in your marriage with Heather?
Um, I, I'm gonna go step by step here. So the first question, yes, it has led me to question if if I was kind of wired wrong or something like that, because I'm definitely way out of the norm, which is kind of the norm for me because when it comes to culture and family traditions and things like that, I've definitely been the outlier in all those areas. So it shouldn't come as a surprise that I'm an outlier in this as well. But at the same time, I've always questioned, like, okay, so I'm a man. I'm supposed to, have all this drive in the marriage. So I always I didn't pay attention to this before, but I focused on trying, and initially, even the little drive that I had, I thought this is still a lot. I still need to, dial it down a bit. Um, and so that I can, make sure that Heather knows that that's not the focus of my, my relationship with her.
Yeah.
So um, I tried to focus on keeping, uh, uh, you know, focusing on other things, basically, not sex things, like maybe going to church, talking about, our faith and what we want to do, through what our ministry would be together, what we're meant to do, where our passions lie. But I have recently come to find out that that is a huge part of who Heather is. So for her to feel intimate with me, not just sex, but we did the love languages
Yes.
test, and we that kind of revealed that for Heather, touch is a really important part of her relationships, and for her affirmation, physical touch and physical intimacy is it bears a heavy load. I think it was like 60%.
Wow.
That
Okay.
whopping a heavyweight over there. And I'm sitting over here thinking, okay, so I definitely gauged it all wrong. Because I didn't realize how much of a low sex drive person I am, as
Okay.
opposed to the general Gen Pop.
Yeah.
And that was definitely like, okay, so what's wrong with me? Is my testosterone level low, or what? Or am I just wired differently? Like, I'm perfectly fine with, maybe once a week or once in 2 weeks, and I'm good for 2 weeks or a month or so, without focusing on that. But when it comes to how that has affected me and Heather, it's definitely put a wedge um, in how we deal with each other. And initially, in our marriage, obviously that at that point in time there was a lot more. We engaged in sexual activity a lot more,
Right.
very often, um, which uh, may have been to me like an indicator going off in my head saying, okay, I think you might be pushing it, so let's keep it lower, lower it, and stuff like that.
And
So
so you were really going out of your way to make sure that Heather felt like she was more than you're this person that I'm married to that I can have sex with now.
right, yes, absolutely. And I've been to like one or two men's conferences, not really a men's conference. It was through a university ministry group, where the pastor more than once talked about in sexual activity, like it's not about you, uh, when you reaching climax. It's about your other half. So
Right.
until they reach climax, it's not. So it was all about like, okay, focus on the other person. As long as the other person's good,
Right.
everything's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
So that kind of became a theme in our relationship, and that definitely kind of took a took a toll on both of us,
Yeah.
um, and especially with a little bit of uh, physical separation during deployment, coming back, and the focus on that being even lesser.
Yeah.
Uh, it definitely caused a lot of, it caused a huge rift between me and Heather, in the sense that, maybe she even felt like she's been away all this time and now he's coming back, and, once in a while he wants to engage in intimacy with me, and it's, maybe she felt invalidated with that as well.
Yeah.
um, I I definitely was, even at that point. I remember all that some of my buddies, male soldiers, who were engaging in a lot of it when we weren't even supposed to during deployment. And then we came back, they were talking about all the things that they were doing, and I was like, okay, so as long as I'm not fitting that norm and keeping that, kind of image with my wife, that she knows that I'm here for her, and it's not just sex. It's still not realizing how important this is to marriage.
Right. Yeah.
So
So you are doing all the things really that most men are taught to do.
Right. Yeah.
or encouraged to do, right? Like go
Yeah.
home and spend time with your spouse, and don't just get home and all you're thinking about and wanting to do is sex all the time. And um and instead of that being this great thing, it ended up causing harm because your wife wanted to be wanted, to feel
Yes.
wanted, to she was craving that. And so I think that that's just really important to talk about how um stereotypes, right, when
Mhm.
we lean into those stereotypes, sometimes they do cause problems and they're not always right.
Correct. And it's I never you don't even realize how much it affects someone because it's uh I mean I know some guys now who want who talk about their relationships openly, and and they this was new for me to hear because they're in a relationship and it's not uh, they're not married, but they're talking about how their uh, uh, better halves want more intimacy from them, but they don't want as much. They would rather engage in it by themselves and be
Mm,
done because they say it's a lot of work.
mm-hmm.
Well, which technically I don't understand. I kind of don't understand that, but at the same time, I do understand coming back from work, being all tired, and with the preconceived notion that okay, so if since I'm already tired and I don't focus on sex, you
Right.
know, it's kind of two birds with one stone.
Yeah.
So and it's kind of important, I think, to realize how every person is different,
Yeah.
and
It is.
Heather is
Sure.
also an outlier. uh, so yeah.
Yes, because she told us in her video she's ready anytime, any day.
Yeah.
So yeah, so you guys, when you're hitting opposite sides of the spectrum, it
Hmm.
is difficult to maneuver and to figure out how to meet in the middle, and how to be the low drive spouse and be able to kind of create this mental shift, um, so that you're ready, right? So that you're prepared, so that that's what you're thinking about. In the high drive, it's really hard to understand that the low drive has to try to think about it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, because for them, it's automatic. They're thinking about it, they want it, they're ready, and they don't understand why it takes time on the other end of that to get to a place where you are ready.
Yeah.
And that's a lot of time where we see conflict, come in those things, and um a lot of guilt and hurt feelings and pressure, you know um
Yeah.
on both sides. On both sides there, it causes just negative feelings. So um I was going to ask you, my mind blanked and now I can't even think what I was going to ask you. um do you how I guess what I wanted to ask you is, um how do you as the low drive spouse work mentally to be able to be ready? Like, if you know that that is a need that she has and a want that she has, how do you kind of prepare yourself um to be ready, to be able to be intimate like she needs? Is that something that you start earlier in the day and kind of prep yourself, or do you kind of wait until you get home and be like, okay, I gotta mentally be prepared? How do you, because men and women work so differently, and so how as a low drive male, how do you get yourself to that space?
So that's a really funny question because I just recently we started, I know we've been, kind of getting encouragement from you as well, in increasing our daily intimacy with each other. And that, to me, for me, that was great to have, to know that, at some point every day something's gonna happen, right? So because that is already there, it's kind of good for me to know that something's gonna happen every day. But for me, when I'm at work, I was kind of trying to gauge of, how long do I need to prep for me to come home and, get to that place and be right there.
Right.
But so that kind of playing with that schedule was kind of interesting for me, because I tried one day around noonish when I go for lunch. I started thinking about some of the new things we had tried out,
Yeah.
like text each other and things like that, and trying to think about all the things I missed about her and things like that. And then by the end of the day, of my work day, I was like, good to go. Okay, we're gonna go home, get some stuff done, and then we can have some quality time. But that kind of backfired on me, because that it got me there like an hour before work ended. So I
Right.
was like out of my mind trying to finish work, and I was like, I
Right.
couldn't think about much else.
So you started a little too early.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is an adjustment. It is an adjustment to try to figure out, like, okay, you don't want to say time schedule, but in a sense, it kind of is a schedule of like, okay, I kind of take this long.
Hmm.
And so what does that mean for my day today? Right? Like today
Yeah.
I'm not getting home till 6 p.m. So um yeah, it is an interesting maneuvering of learning.
Yeah. That's for sure. And I remember going to the both ends of the spectrum with that too, because one day I started too late and I wasn't there yet, but I
Yep.
still tried to be there. And Heather's a trooper when it comes to that kind of thing. And she was able to get me comfortable. And
Yeah.
so I guess at that point it comes to you know teamwork
Right.
making the dream work.
Well, and that has changed since your communication has changed.
Yeah,
I
for sure.
mean, that wasn't always there. When there's a lack of communication on the subject, it's like
Mm.
you don't know how to do the teamwork because you don't really know what the other one needs.
Yeah.
And so
And
that has been a shift for you guys, I believe.
it was a huge shift. I didn't know what to expect and how things would really change. But after 2 days of definitely putting in the effort every day, we already started seeing the shift in communication as far as other things are concerned as well.
Right.
That was interesting for me to see, because if financial decisions, decisions about, okay, what do we need to change to discipline our son?
Yeah.
Um, what do we need to change about our food schedule, or who's going to cook? All of that
Right.
stuff turned from arguments to, okay, that's going to work for you, that's going to work for me. So it all became amicable after the intimacy part was met.
Because God created us in marriage to be one in all things. And so
Yeah.
when what spouses have a hard time um, kind of realizing, I guess, especially when you're already in these places of discord, is that when you're not connected in one area, you're kind of just not fully connected in any area. I mean,
Yeah.
you definitely have areas that are better, but there's
Mm.
not this cohesive connectedness of we are one the way that God designed our marriages to be, that we are one in all things, in body, mind, and in our faith. And
Yes.
so it just really is. I love that you brought that up. I love that you brought up that when you guys worked in this area, it changed the other areas.
Hmm.
Because that's just so, so true, no matter what area you're working on.
Yeah. And it actually kind of strengthened my faith. I know Heather didn't, have that much of a struggle with her faith uh, in itself, but I was struggling with my faith of late, but due to other issues as
Right.
well. Intimacy with Heather, I didn't. That was one unexpected thing that I never even imagined would change with that. As my spiritual strength and my dependence on God has increased more now that intimacy is the focus in our marriage.
Yeah. Blessings definitely flow out of blessings. I mean,
Yeah.
God is so faithful and so good in those things. Um, I'm going to move us forward here just a little bit, um, and go back to just talking about more of that mental mindset. And
Mhm.
so here's a fun question for you. Um, if there was one thing that you could change about Heather's mindset, Heather's intimacy, sexual mindset, to help her better understand you, what would that look like?
Oh, oh, that's definitely a loaded question. Uh, well, I don't I, I don't know if I do want to change anything about about her mindset,
Okay.
um, because I feel like she is already in the right place.
Okay.
Uh, with where she expects her the how she expects the intimacy to be expressed or and all that.
I love
So
that.
I feel like it's more work that needs to be done on my end because I'm the low drive person. So if I need to work, put the effort in to get my drive up, just like any just like working out, right?
Right.
I build the stamina and endurance as I work out more.
Right.
Uh, but I can't. It's like if I went with a workout partner and my partner was so well versed with all the workout plans and everything, but I'm not as motivated about it. I would rather me get myself into the mindset of getting to where my partner is rather than have my partner change something about themselves to get them to my level. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's what your question even asked, but I think as far as Heather understanding me, I know that she doesn't understand being a low drive person.
Right.
She has communicated with me a lot, so I don't know. I just now I just am more expressive about where I am emotionally every day with her, which is another big step. But I think for her, knowing where I am emotionally, it kind of eases her to uh, be elastic, kind of with
Yeah.
where I'm and kind of work with me
I
on
think
help.
that's beautiful, Joel.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
I think your answer was great. I think that is like really a great mentality to have, that you want to meet the person that's kind of above where you are, no matter, like you said, no matter if it was a workout buddy, you wouldn't be like, hey, can you lift less? Right.
Yep,
um
exactly.
so I think that just it was just a really good example of trying to meet your partner where they're at. And it sounds like Heather does a really good job of also meeting you and not always having this expectation that you're going to jump right up and meet that need.
Yeah.
But that you guys are a team in that. So I think it's great.
Yeah. And then sometimes I get it, and it's work for her to get to that place as well, to be understanding of where I am.
Right.
But at the same time, for the most part, I'm sure when on days when I can't just jump in there, it lets her down. But she has come more to a place where she's able to grab my hand, that slowly help me through the process.
Right. Oh, thank you so
Doesn't
much, Joel, for chatting with me, and thank you for being vulnerable on a sensitive topic, to be honest, and just letting us get to see the other side after meeting Heather. This is just so nice to be able to hear you guys talk about your relationship together, and just to see how communication is really helping you guys to move forward, and little baby steps in the intimacy process are causing big changes.
Yep, absolutely.
And that's the goal. So I love it. And I just wanted to tell you too, I mean, I've kind of said this in every interview, but the purpose of these is really to help other people, other spouses, to feel not alone. And so you are not the only low drive male spouse. And so I just really appreciate you being able to share that part of yourself, and to allow other men to be able to be like, wow, I'm not the only one. There's somebody else who understands. And maybe I'm more normal than I thought.
Yeah,
So I just really appreciate that, and I appreciate you being here and chatting with me today. And so I just wanted to say thank you.
absolutely. Thank you for having me, and reading your material online. It's new, it's different, especially in the Christian circles, to to talk about these vulnerable things in marriage. And I do read a lot of things about keeping a healthy marriage, and most of the times, at least in Christian articles, it doesn't touch on this.
Right.
And it's nice to see that that's your focus, and clearly I'm a testament to it, is that when you try and kind of shift your focus on this, it's helping the overall marriage as well. So thank you.
Thank you so much for that. Yep, it's in the Christian circle. It is not talked about a lot, but I am gonna do my best to change that.
And we're praying for you. And
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Joel, I will talk to you soon, and just thanks again.
you're welcome. Thank you. Talk to you soon. Bye.
All right, bye-bye.